Sorry, what's your name one more time?
I'm Helene.
Helene. Okay. All right.
Took me a year to figure out how to say that.
Helene.
It's Helen with an E at the end.
Helene.
Sounds fancy.
Yeah. Ready to roll? We rolling? Right on. All right. Welcome to the 10th anniversary of the Valley Boys. I mean, 10th episode, of course, not 10 years. I mean, could you imagine if this went on for that long? Join with me is my assistant, Brandon Collins. He's been demoted.
Again.
Yeah, I forget what you did. I
Oh.
don't know. It doesn't matter. You were talking in a talking hole, and I was sick of it, so you're back down to assistant.
Cool.
But more importantly than Brandon, we've got a guest. He's a big deal. Joe Walsh. Now, here's what I don't want. I don't want to hear anybody online saying he's a Tea Party Republican. I don't want to hear that, he looks like an anorexic Ron Perlman. I don't want anyone saying that he looks like Jeffrey Epstein's half-brother. And has anyone seen them in the same room together? In fact, he's one of the only politicians that hasn't been in the same room as Jeffrey Epstein. Senator Joe Walsh, how you doing?
It's great to be with you guys. I get that a lot, though, that I look like Epstein.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I don't want to hear it, but it's definitely true.
The gray hair. I never noticed it until he died. And then when I saw pictures of him after he died.
Oh, the dead body? You were like, I see it now.
That's me. That's me.
You know what it is? It's it's tequila. You got into that in the last year or so? Yeah, that'll do it to you.
It's good to be here, you two.
Right on. It's good having you. The whole place was excited to have you over. As you can see, we're in the shit shack. You can't see it, but we got Joe in here. Everybody, all the suits.
It's incredible.
We're happy to have them. They don't like that we call it a shit shack.
Where'd that come from, that name?
We started calling it that.
I think it's gorgeous.
It is, yeah.
It's beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, you couldn't find a better location, but that's just what we do. We bring it in, we come in, we bring down the property value. So
As soon as we got here, dump truck here pulled out this cheap, dirty beer and dropped the bottle right in that gorgeous kitchen.
well, it might
really?
be cheap, might be dirty, but at least it's manufactured right here in the USA. So
It's good beer. Rolling Rock's good beer.
thank you.
Canadian
so,
beer's
fuck off,
better.
Dave.
So, with all of everything that we disagree on,
Yes.
we can agree on some fundamental things. And primarily, I like to think it's country over party.
Amen.
And I got to say, as much as I disagree with virtually everything that comes out of your mouth, you've epitomized that belief. And so I got to say, thanks for that. It's good to hear people speaking out against corruption and just this outright shit show.
Well, you and I sort of
happening.
clicked on Twitter a while back.
We did, but it was after we had some words for each other.
Remember that?
Yeah, and
He went after me hard.
I
Oh,
backpedaled.
we
I
got your
backpedaled,
concessions.
and I'm doing it right now.
I forget what it was about. But yeah, you went after me.
It was
Pretty good.
the guns thing.
You and I disagree on guns.
I
Yeah.
still disagree with you on that, but I hit low and dirty, and you calmly pointed out that I was incorrect about that, which I was, and I take it back. I'm an awesome person for that, so kudos to me mostly.
Jeez, don't break your arm patting your own back there, buddy.
I literally did that. You can't see it, but that's what I'm doing here. So, do you really think that we were talking about this just a second ago?
Yeah.
About who's going to beat Trump?
Yeah.
You decided to challenge him
Yeah.
in the Republican primary, which, let's face it, doesn't really exist.
Gone, baby. Party's gone. Look, I thought it was really Trump's unfit, period. And I thought it was really important that there's a fucking Republican out there every day saying that he's unfit. We hear it from Democrats and independents. My party's become the chicken shit party. Everything I say about Trump publicly, most of my former Republican colleagues say it privately. They're afraid to call him out publicly.
And why is that? Are they afraid of him, or are they afraid of their voters?
Voters.
So their voters are
they're
ride
not
or die Trump?
Yeah. These guys aren't afraid of Trump. They think he's a moron. They know he's a liar. They're afraid of his voters. If they speak out against him, all of Trump's voters won't vote for them. And look, I was a congressman. It's a nice gig. They don't want to lose that gig.
So
Right.
like Ted Cruz, for example,
Oh.
like, he
Canadian, by the way.
Part
Yeah.
Canadian.
right, but
He was
so-
born there.
Yeah, he was
but
born there.
Republican running in Texas used to be a surefire thing, double-digit win guaranteed.
Yeah.
And then he wins, but it was what, about 4%, I think.
Even closer to that, 2 points, I think, over Beto.
Yeah, right. So so had he continued on what he did in the primary, where he was talking about how Trump was a grifter and he was a horrible person, wasn't fit for office,
He'd lost.
He would have lost in Texas.
I mean, think about that, though. I know Ted Cruz. He calls Trump a pathological liar and amoral, just like 3.5 years ago.
Yeah.
Now he's washing the dude's feet. He's washing Trump's feet every day.
With his tongue.
With his tongue.
Yeah.
I don't know, Dave, guys, I don't know how you can do that. How you can turn on that. The guy, but here's the deal. I know Ted Cruz knows that Trump's amoral. But fuck it, he wants to get reelected.
So that's what it is.
Well,
Party over country.
It's party over
Job over
country,
country.
or in John Bolton's case, it's book over country. But they're all positioning themselves for after Trump. Ted Cruz wants to be president.
Sure.
Nikki Haley wants to be president. So they want all of Trump's voters. So they want to pat him on the head and be nice to him now. Then Trump goes away. Then they can be the one.
That's a bad strategy, I think,
I think
because
so too.
it's all going to come out eventually.
What?
Everything, how corrupt he is.
Yeah.
And they're going to find out that he's been lying. Everything will come out.
Totally.
And I got to say, your strategy seems a little bit better. I was ahead of this. And even people that voted no on impeachment, which that's a separate issue, that was another uphill battle.
Yeah.
As soon as they said they were impeaching him, and as soon as it was passed, we all knew it wasn't going to happen. Everybody knew that. What I thought they did that was kind of stupid like a fox was they tacked on the obstruction charge.
Yeah.
Because it's almost like they're going to impeach him, they're going to make a big spectacle of it. I'm not going to use the word entrapping because it's technically not entrapment, but they're setting him up to commit the crime of obstruction, which he did in plain view. And all of those senators that voted no, he didn't do anything wrong, that's going to bite them in the ass later. I believe.
Yeah, look, here's the deal, though. Me, Joe Walsh, courageous Joe Walsh, I'm dead. I'm dead in the Republican Party. I couldn't get elected to anything for the foreseeable future. I think you're right that all of Trump's shit is eventually going to come out. But then I'll be blamed for one of the guys that helped bring Trump down. I just don't think Republicans will ever vote for me. But I think the Republican Party's done. I think the party's over.
Well, it's going to split, I think.
Totally.
And that's what we were talking. Both sides, the Democrats too. Democrats are moving.
They got their issues.
They have that. Well, there's no question.
Yeah.
And we'll get to that for sure. But they're kind of moving in their typical Democrat traditional ways. You know, you got the Joe Walshes,
He's already made me a
Joe
damn
Biden.
Democrat.
Yeah.
But these pro-establishment guys, and
yeah.
if there's one thing Trump and Bernie in 2016 proved, is that people are ready to move on past establishment.
Yeah.
You had on the right, the pro-establishment dude would have been your buddy there, Ted Cruz.
Ted Cruz.
And on the left, we had Hillary Clinton.
Yeah.
And on the opposite ends of that, there was Trump and Bernie. And those were the ones people were getting behind because they had this a very similar message of no more of this shit. We're ready to drain the swamp. I got to say, that message is good.
Oh, absolutely.
As it turns out, it was a complete lie.
It was a lie.
We talked about this on the last episode, but there was Between Two Ferns with Zach Galifianakis. You got to do that if you ever get a chance.
Yeah,
But
I want to.
He had Hillary Clinton on.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, Hillary, just hang on a second. We got to air a commercial. And they put on a Trump ad while she was while they were interviewing her. And the ad itself was, there's too much money in politics. We have corporations funding these, and we need to get rid of that.
Yeah.
End of message.
Yeah.
That's not a bad
That was awesome.
strategy. It's just, it's too bad that, as Jimmy Dore said, he drained the swamp, and then it was his people at the bottom.
The politics is broken. Both political parties suck. The average American didn't feel like government was doing a damn thing for him. It's corrupt. So along comes this guy that says, I'm going to fucking drain the swamp. I'm going to go after the elites. And they bought it. It turns out he is the most corrupt person we've ever put there. He's an absolute con man. He doesn't believe a word he says, but most of his supporters still buy it.
And now that's what I find bewildering, because isn't the GOP supposedly the party of morals, the party of the family party, and they're sticking behind this like you said, he's a con man. That's what it is. When they said he can't be bought because he's already a billionaire, that's an interesting point, and that's true to an extent when it comes to putting money in his own
Right,
pocket.
right, right.
However, he's morally bankrupt, and it seems like everyone has dirt on him that he wants to keep quiet.
Yeah, but you know, one of the weirdest things was, you're right, he was like the least vetted candidate we've ever had. Think about it. Nobody in 2016, nobody dug up shit on him. A lot of Republicans didn't take him seriously, didn't think he'd become the nominee, and then it was too late. People really haven't looked into his long history of corruption, and now it is probably too late.
Well, yeah, because here we are. But you're right, though.
Well, even the fact he used to pal around with the Clintons all the time too, and then just suddenly one day becomes a church-going Republican.
He's an absolute fraud, and he's probably gotten a lot of Russian money. I mean, he's been a criminal his whole life.
Yeah.
But the bottom line is, he's the guy who said, "I'm going to build the wall. Mexico's going to pay for it," and that right there won him the election. And that's all BS, but that won him the election.
Mostly because a wall wouldn't work. I agree, Joe Walsh. It is BS that a wall would work.
Well,
That's a sound clip. Joe Walsh hates the wall.
part of a solution. Now I sound like a politician. It's part of a comprehensive solution,
Right.
the wall. But Mexico's not paying for it.
Well, the former president of Mexico explicitly said that.
Yeah.
And I use the word explicit because
Yeah.
he used profanity. There's no fucking way I'm paying for that, he said.
Yeah.
And there's no doubt. Like, how are you going to do that? Are you going to collect it in trade? That's what he planned on doing with China. Look what happened with that. What a joke that is.
What a joke that is. Iowa farmers are paying for his China fiasco. But your point is the big one. So when I was campaigning in Iowa against Trump before the caucus, he had one of his big stupid rallies in Des Moines. So I went and talked to people in line to go into the rally before they went in. And it was like the most frustrating 45 minutes I've ever had. I asked 40 people in line, 40 people, has Donald Trump ever lied to the American people? All 40 said no. 3 or 4 people thought that he's never golfed since he became president.
Wow.
Almost everybody thought Mexico was paying for the wall. It made me sad, guys, because they're being fed this shit by Fox News and the world I came from, conservative radio. They're being fed a bunch of lies.
Well, and here's the thing. So my big thing is he won the election essentially in the Rust Belt because he had to carry those states. And the biggest thing that he did, he showed up, he talked to people, he offered them hope, said, we're going to bring the jobs back from China.
I'm bringing coal back, baby.
We're bringing coal back to West Virginia.
Windmills cause cancer.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, that was later, but yeah. But so
he gave him hope.
Yeah, he spoke to the average blue-collar American in a way that they could understand and relate to. And, I mean, just showing up. Hillary didn't do that,
Hillary
so
didn't
she
do
shot
it.
herself in the foot doing that.
Yeah.
And, yeah, and then so the problem is that now with...
By the way, Bernie would have beaten him in 16.
I agree.
Because Bernie
Yeah.
would have showed up.
Yeah.
And Bernie would have talked to those folks and given them hope, too.
Yeah, well, he did too. And the funny thing with Hillary, blamed him for the loss, even though he went and campaigned, did 39 rallies for her, and he still tried to get the Democrat in the office, but by then it was too
Bill
late.
Clinton's no dummy. Bill Clinton knew that Hillary needed to get into those states and into those areas.
Well, he won
Yeah.
twice.
You don't win. You win the
Yeah.
presidency twice on accident.
Yeah.
But
But no, he offered them. He said, these people's lives are being torn asunder. And Trump gave them hope. I'll bring your jobs back. I'll build a wall on the border so these bad people won't come in. I'll do something about the drug crisis. All of it was BS. I'll bring coal back, he said. What is that? But they bought it.
well, there's that, and then the fact that, like you were saying, that the average American doesn't keep up with politics except once every 4 years, or when they turn on their choice of biased media every
that's
night,
what
and
we
then
do,
that's
yeah.
where their information comes from.
Yeah.
So if you watch Fox News, you're not going to hear about all the golfing trips. You're not going to hear about all the deals with Saudi Arabia. You're not going to hear about, everything else that's going on with them. And that's the other problem too, is he knows that, unfortunately, the average American just doesn't pay attention to what's going on outside of that every 4 years.
And he knows he's got 40% of the American people in the palm of his hand. The people who watch Fox News, who still don't believe Russia screwed with our 2016 election.
Isn't that when you turned on Trump?
Yeah, I turned on. Well, it's funny, guys. Look, I get a bad rap. Like, I wasn't a big Trump supporter in 16. I voted for him. But
I don't know about that, Joe, but continue.
and then you can jump on me.
Yeah.
But he blocked me on Twitter during the 2016 election because I criticized him. After he won, I did the whole good Trump, bad Trump thing. When he did something good, I'd praise him. When he did something bad, I'd hit him. But he never acknowledged Russia screwed with our election from day one. That really pissed me off. And then the guy can't tell the truth. And then finally, when he stood next to Putin.
Right. He just
That
submitted,
was
folded
it.
like a lawn chair. Yeah.
That was it. To
Yeah.
me, I remember going on the radio that fucking night, and I said, I'm done with him. I'll never support him again.
But no matter what your policies are, that's what it's about.
Should be.
It's saying, okay, we're putting a pin in this. Like, if Bernie came out and it turned out he was doing the same thing, I feel like his supporters would turn on him.
And that's when you sent me a nice Twitter DM, I think, when I finally
Was
put
after
country
that?
first.
Yeah.
After that.
Yeah, well, I mean, like, that's...
But you're right.
that's
It's
what
country
about.
first, period.
Exactly. And me, as a foreigner, I had to work so hard to get here. And I'm still going through it. I have a daughter here now. I've got my whole life here. Yep.
Cool.
Grown up now.
Yeah.
It's I love this country. As much as I criticize certain parts of it, that's
Right.
my right. I've earned that right
Hell yeah.
as a fucking taxpayer.
Hell yeah. Absolutely. Absolutely.
And so on the subject of immigration, I listened to your podcast a couple of times back in the day. You use a lot of rock music in it.
Love
Right?
the music. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Yeah.
Including, if I'm not mistaken, Slipknot.
Probably. I don't even know who they are. But my producer always
You
picked
don't
this
know? Oh,
music.
okay.
I had no clue. But I said I want stuff I don't recognize and I don't want elevator music. So we had pretty cool bumper music.
All right, yeah. But one thing you said on it,
Oh.
if I'm not mistaken, no, I'm not quoting directly.
Probably
This is
close.
a paraphrase based on my own memory of 2 years ago. But you had said that illegal immigration is one of the biggest threats to this country. Do you still feel that way?
Yeah, here's where I differ with Trump, and I think this issue got him elected. I want my country, America, to welcome anybody, as long as you come here legally, man. I don't want to put limits on legal immigration. We got to make it easier too, by the way.
That's why there are illegal immigrants. It's
Well,
because it's so
true.
hard to get here.
True, but that's no excuse. But I hear you. And by the way, you're right and you're smart. You know this topic. When we talk about illegal immigrants, 2/3 of the people are people who've just overstayed their visas.
Right.
You know, again, the average person watching Fox News thinks every illegal is somebody crawling over the border. BS.
Right, because they're sending the rapists and the
But
murderers.
I think where you and I politically were different, we could agree, is fix the damn legal immigration system. And that would go a long way toward eliminating illegal immigration. I agree with that.
Now, how do you feel about, in general, how do you feel about Ronald Reagan and his immigration policies?
Well, he caved a little bit.
Well,
I
he
mean-
had the immigration reform in 1986. He said they were trying to figure out what to do. They had 4 million illegal immigrants at the time,
And
and
he
they
put
said,
amnesty out there as well.
Right.
Offered
And-
amnesty.
would you say that worked out or didn't work
Well,
out?
I think then it contributed to the mess we're in because it continued to grow the illegal immigration population. It didn't stop it. It only grew it.
So
I
basically,
would
just
say
gave
the opposite is true because it made them legal, and then they were paying taxes.
well made them legal,
were on the books.
but would you say that it encouraged other
It
people?
enticed and encouraged, and when you look at the numbers of people in this country illegally, after Reagan's reform in '86, it went like this for 20-some years.
Right. But I'll give you the one point that you had. It should be made easier for people. How
Way
do you
easier.
feel? So right now, if you want to move to the United States, I got here as a person of extraordinary ability.
I'll buy it. I'll buy it.
Well, the government did.
Yeah.
And so how do you feel about people willing to come here from whatever country,
Doesn't
can't
matter.
even speak the language,
Doesn't matter.
but they're willing to work,
Yeah.
minimum wage, pay their
Yes.
taxes, obey the law? Should they be allowed to come in?
Again, I think
Now, that's not based on, just to go back a
Uh-huh.
little tiny bit. So to get into the country on these various visas, you have to have a specific profession
Yeah.
and experience and a person willing to hire you and a shortage here. And it's all on the government website. If you're a plumber, electrician, these kind of things, then you can come in. How do you feel about people coming in and working at McDonald's?
I am fine with it. I'm fine with
Interesting.
anybody, Dave, coming in on a work visa to do any level of work. That's not where my party is. My party generally wants people who can contribute more than coming in to just work at a McDonald's.
Right. And in theory, there's nothing wrong with that. Those people
No.
should get a special or at least expedited
Yes,
visas and everything, and a clearer path to a green card. I'm all for that.
absolutely.
But if you're from Mexico and you don't have the education, and I say Mexico, any country, and you can become from Canada and have no education.
Yeah.
Because did you know that with the rest of the Commonwealth countries, so in Canada, the UK, Australia, even South Africa's
You
in on
guys
this.
actually are even tougher, aren't you?
Yeah, it's not
Way
easy.
tougher.
Well, if you're from America.
Oh, I didn't know that.
If you're coming from one of the Commonwealth countries,
Yeah.
we sort of have a deal with each other where it's like if you want to come in on a 2-year work visa and work at McDonald's,
Yeah.
you can, and then after that, you can apply for a more permanent stay, and it's just way easier. You don't need that special weird skill. You don't need, and it's not special and weird, but you don't need to be an electrician. You don't need to be a plumber. You can come in with no skills. Nobody really does.
Look, the Republican Party is wrong on this issue, and we're getting screwed for it. Democrats Democrats generally want to open up the borders and let anybody in.
Disagree.
No.
That's not what they're saying.
I'm simplifying to be stupid to make a broader point. Republicans generally don't want anybody in unless you have a PhD and you're worth $5 million. Republicans generally want to restrict legal immigration because they fear that letting all these people in who will work at McDonald's, we're just bringing in Democrat voters. Instead of Republicans should think these are opportunities. I've got to present our philosophy to them because the Republican Party is an old white man party, and unless we get immigrants, the party's going to fade away. Mm-hmm. So I do think we need. I'm contrarian in my party. We need to make legal immigration easier.
And that's great. Now, don't you think that's more effective than the wall?
I think a wall is part of a solution. Do I want a wall from border to border? No. But I think in certain strategic locations, look, I don't want anybody crawling across our southern border and just entering my country illegally. You don't want that either, do you?
No, and I want them vetted.
No. But we'll vet them. But you don't think people should just have a right to crawl across the border and enter America and we don't do anything to you?
Of course not.
Okay.
Of course not.
And to stop that, it's not really a wall. A wall maybe in some locations, but you got to defend a border.
And there's nothing wrong with that. I feel like border security is its own issue.
Yeah.
It's separate from illegal immigration. I know that sounds weird, but if you really want to combat illegal immigration, you have to. They're going to be coming anyway. You may as well vet them. And that's a big thing with like you even said it yourself that most of them are visa overstays.
Yeah.
And the argument that your party makes on that is, well, at least they're vetted at the border, number one, and number two, they usually go home. At some point, they leave.
They usually go home.
They run out of money. Who knows? But I got to tell you. So how do you feel about?
But you make a good point, by the way. Part of border security is helping our neighbors to the south improve the quality of life in their countries as well, so that they don't always feel the need to come up here where the getting's better.
No, that wasn't really my point. That's I gotta say that's a Republican point. Is they're trying to deter immigration that way.
But it seems
if they follow through with it, that is a great
They
idea.
typically don't.
But that
Right.
seems to be the more common sense solution. Like if somebody has, this is going to sound horrible, but somebody has cancer, you don't just give them Zofran to deal with the nausea or,
Yeah. Well, and that's why Trump's so stupid. He's trying to cut off aid to Central American countries because
Right.
he's pissed off at them. We
Right.
should be helping those countries.
Right, exactly. You attack the cancer cells, not the symptoms of
Yeah.
the cancer.
Yeah. But, yes, so but border security is also fix our legal immigration problem situation.
And like you said, make it easier for people to come. I think anyone
Totally.
should be able to should be able to come here. And a big problem that I have is when people look at what's going on in Mexico. Do you remember a few months ago there was some kind of terrorist attack where there was an American killed or a couple of Americans killed.
yeah.
It was awful, and people were saying, "This is what I'm talking about. This is why we need the wall." And it's like, no,
yeah.
that's what people are fleeing from. They're trying to get away from that.
And that's what Trump appealed to was that.
Was
now,
were those people?
I do think if you want to come to America and be an American citizen, you've got to assimilate to our principles, i.e., you have to accept the Constitution. What does that mean? I mean, you take an oath, you're going to that just means you're willing to be free and you're willing to be tolerant of others. I don't want anybody to come to America who's not going to be tolerant of other people's freedoms. You'd accept that.
Well,
I mean, that's tricky.
I know
but
where you're going with this, and that's an excellent point, because there are certain religions that oppress people in their own household.
Totally.
And so if they're doing that in America, do we put up with it, or do we let them, or do we say, no, we don't do that in America? We don't. It's not okay. There are certain cultures, even branches of Christianity. I was a Jehovah's Witness when I was a kid. Single mother, so this part didn't apply to me, but they have this weird thing where the man is the head of the household and he can use corporal punishment on the children and the wife. And that's against the law, straight up. And they have their own weird rules where you have to go to an elder in the church, and then they do 13 jumping jacks and later there's a whole ceremony.
Yeah, that's all. You're right. That's always a struggle
before
in
going to the
America.
police.
Yeah.
And I'm using Jehovah's Witnesses because everybody knows what that is, instead of picking on any other religion.
Right.
I'm trying to be sensitive here.
We don't want to be sensitive. It's really any religion. I mean, it can be Muslim, Christian, or Jew. If you come from somewhere around the world and you say, I'm a Muslim or I'm a Christian, and that's the only religion, and I don't accept anybody believing in another religion, well, then I don't want you in America.
But isn't that free speech? It depends what they do with it.
Right, but
if they feel that way, and if they express it, I don't have a problem with that, because that's free speech.
But that's a really good point. It is free speech, but you have to embrace our whole Constitution. I don't want anybody to become an American if they're not willing to accept our whole Constitution, which is free speech, freedom of religion. I can worship whatever God I want to worship.
And freedom from religion.
Absolutely, freedom from. Which is why we're wonderful. We separate religion from government. So you have to accept the whole package.
Sort of, but yeah.
We're supposed to. But that's a really interesting point.
It depends. If anybody, I don't care if they come in and they're trying to push their religion into policy. Obviously, I don't agree with that. But that's already happening.
That's
happening right now with Christianity. They're saying we want, for example, prayer in schools. That's a weird topic, because on one hand, they should have the freedom to do that. That's first and foremost.
If you want prayer in school, you can do that in private schools, religious schools,
well,
not
of course,
schools.
Yeah. So you agree that in public schools they should just kind of.
I don't want the government sanctioning any religion.
Interesting. Okay.
Totally.
I didn't think
I'm more libertarian than you think.
That's what it is. You're a libertarian, I think. I don't think you're a Republican anymore.
Oh, I rarely call myself a Republican. I don't even like the word
conservative.
Conservative. I don't like conservative. Sounds like a mean old intolerant white guy. I mean,
because that's from a marketing standpoint, that's what you guys have done to yourselves.
And then Trump's the poster child for that.
Right.
He's like no, I'm generally of the school. There'll be some exceptions that you'll nail me on. Let me live my life. You live yours. Stay the hell out of my business.
Yeah, you're a libertarian.
That's generally, with some exceptions, that's where I am.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how do you feel about this?
See, I think you and I agree on more than you think.
Of course we do. And that's why that was the first thing you said to me. When I was like, I'm
Except you don't want to legalize marijuana. I totally want to legalize marijuana.
I don't want to legalize marijuana. That's a gateway drug. Everyone's crashing cars on it and eating faces. Isn't bath salts? That's what they call marijuana now, right? Bath salts?
But I'll tell you what, I'm not a Republican today. This is Trump's party. This is not my Republican party. Not even close.
But you've got a lot of batshit policies, I gotta say. And
me or the party?
You, Sir Joe Walsh. And that's what I wanted to ask you about. So, as much as I would not like this, it terrifies me to say this. No. You will probably, there's a very good chance that you'll be president one day.
I'll never get elected to anything.
You're saying that now, but let's face it, you're appealing to a wider base right now. Who are the ones that are connecting with you right now? Are they Democrats or are they Republicans?
Democrats, libertarians, and independents.
Okay, and that's what wins elections.
But I don't have a party. The Democrat Party would never embrace me.
Of course not. But like
I don't
you
have
said,
a party then.
Both parties are falling apart, and we discussed it.
That's
Here at the Valley
interesting.
Boys, we fix all the world's problems.
These Valley Boys are going to rule the world one day.
They listen to us with my cowboy hat and my sleeveless America T-shirt.
But one thing that is going around is how we brushed on it earlier. So to get back into it, that both sides are splitting. So you're on the right, you have your traditional conservatives, and then you have your nationalists, which is where Trump falls under. On the left, you've got your traditional Democrats, same old bullshit, but you've also got your socialist, and that's such a dirty word.
Progressives.
Right, progressive. That's what Brandon calls them. But that's, whether you like it or not, people on the street, that's what they call them. That's socialism. We don't do socialism here
Because people are
they have such a
stupid.
dirty connotation to it. And that's what we discussed in the last episode, was how everyone immediately goes, oh, well, Venezuela. But here's the thing about that country. Number one, it's a very corrupt government. It doesn't matter what they operate under.
Always has
it's
been.
going to fall apart.
Always has been.
And everyone says, well, Hitler was a socialist. You're dumb if you believe that. He campaigned as a socialist, but it's an indisputable historical fact that he was a fascist. And he modeled his campaign after Mussolini.
But you can also be a socialist and a fascist. You can be.
Could also be
those two can meet. Like fascists can meet on either end. But your bigger point is well taken.
And I think you're going to fit somewhere on the spectrum.
People don't understand these terms. Look, you got, like if Bernie were here right now, generally Bernie and I, why do we disagree? Because Bernie generally wants government doing more to solve our problems. I generally want government doing less. So put a label on that. I'm not going to call Bernie a socialist. He just believes in a bigger, more activist government. That's okay. More like a Sweden or some of the...
Well, here's where it differs. And as a Canadian, I could tell you that anybody's Medicare for all is such a great sentiment. It's not going to work until you regulate that industry.
Which industry?
The entire medical industry, the pharmaceutical, everything from top to bottom, because that's how it's designed. It's designed to squeeze every nickel and penny out of the sick and the injured and the dying. And until you regulate that, you're not going to be able to afford to pay for Medicare for all, no matter what slashing or tax increases you do. In Canada, in Norway, in Finland, in Sweden, they regulate that the same way that schools are regulated here. You tell somebody when they say, well, that's socialism. I don't believe in socialism. It's like, how do you feel about paved roads, the fire department, and public schools?
Well,
and they'll say, well, that's those are basic human needs. It's like, and healthcare isn't. But the healthcare here in this country is part of the free market.
Well, we're all based in the civilized world. Almost everybody is a mixed economy. We're all kind of combos of capitalism and socialism. And again, most Americans don't realize this.
That's what I'm saying.
There's no pure capitalist society. We're a mix. The European countries are a mix.
America is very late capitalism. The capitalism that people that are obsessed with has been dead for the last 40 years.
Well, and again, and see, this is why I don't think I fit anywhere, because I think the trend line is going against me. Like we are becoming more, I'm not going to use the term socialist, but we're becoming a bigger government country. And I'm on the losing end of that because that's not what I would necessarily advocate.
You would think that might be the way it's going, but there's still enough people out there. And let's get real. Republicans call themselves the silent majority.
They're not.
That's ridiculous. Republicans go out and vote. It's Democrats that are like, I'm going to sit on the couch and not vote. Let's face it. And that's proven. Look at Australia, mandatory voting. And you know how it rotates? It rotates between the Labour Party, that's what they call socialism. They cleverly called it the Labour Party, and Democrats. It goes between those two. Only once since World War II has Australia had a conservative government.
But we'll never have mandatory voting here. That's
because it's a violation of freedom. I totally get that.
But
what I'm saying is when people are forced to vote, they typically go to, and those are the casual voters.
Yeah.
I would kind of disagree with that partially, though, because the biggest block, as we were talking about last week with Jimmy Dore, is the independents. Those are the people that don't get the spotlight because they don't fall on one side of the spectrum or the
I
other.
don't think there really are tons of independents.
It's at least
think
like
that's
42% of
but
the
I
population.
think that's a lazy signifier. Not you're being lazy, but I
Yeah.
think people call themselves independent because they're kind of lazy politically. I think most people lean one way or the other.
I hate to say it, but I agree with Joe Walsh.
Yeah.
Like, well, everybody.
That's an easy thing. I'm an independent.
Well, right, but like everybody has their opinion. But the
Right.
problem is, like, if you're doing voting or doing polling and you're trying to figure out like where the Republicans or where the Democrats lie on certain issues or the voting block as a whole,
Yeah.
that's the biggest block that gets left out and gets underreported. And 2016 election was probably the biggest indicator that the polling methods are way out of whack.
Well, but
and that people have been driven out of both parties. They don't
but
want to be
you-
associated.
But just always be careful of this. No, tequila, only tequila. For the record,
shovel
these
beer
guys
down.
are finally trying to shovel Rolling Rock down me. I'm a tequila guy, period. Look, the polling in
Tequila's
16,
Mexican, but yeah, okay.
the polling in 16, hey, I'm open to, I don't care. And by the way, that issue got Trump elected.
You're right. I don't
The issue
disagree
of
with that.
immigration. And Trump has turned it into a dark, deep, ugly issue. Like, I only want, when he told those 4 brown-skinned congresswomen to go back to where they came from, Trump's turned that issue into an ugly, ugly issue. The polling generally in 16 was spot on. It showed Hillary winning by 2 or 3 points. She did. The polling in some of the key states was off.
But that's what I'm saying.
Wisconsin and Michigan. And,
But
yeah.
that's where you're going to have more of your independence and all that. So, like,
But a lot of people stayed home.
well, there was that too.
Democrats stayed
That's
home.
what I think. I think
They
it's the
didn't think
Democrats
this
that stay home.
fucking guy was going to win. I'm telling you.
And there were news sources that were when I wasn't able to watch it on TV.
Yeah.
I had it on my phone Googled.
Yeah.
I just kept refreshing it, and they would have various news sources reporting it, and fucking BuzzFeed calling them out. Those motherfuckers ran an article on me, calling me fake news and all this shit. I write satire. It's not fake news. It's satire.
satire.
Mind you, this was at a time when right before the whole fake news thing. So, but whatever.
Yeah.
But they were reporting projected votes. So they were like, Hillary
I
won
hate
this
that.
state, Hillary
Right,
won
right,
that
right,
state.
right.
And people are going to see that and be like, oh, okay, I'm not voting. Like, no, she didn't win those states that they said that they won. And I mean, not to sound like Jimmy Dore, he came on our show and we're just all fired up from that, you know?
Yeah.
But
Okay, well, like take Wisconsin, for example. So that's
Yeah.
one specific example
Yeah.
that he mentioned. Trump won Wisconsin by what, 17,000 votes,
Yeah.
thereabouts? 8,000 less black voters in Milwaukee showed up to the polls.
Oh, huge numbers. A lot of them stayed home. Some of that was Hillary's fault. Hillary didn't inspire people.
she also didn't
but
go
then,
there.
But then there's
She didn't go
also
there.
people who said that, especially black people, they're like, I didn't feel the hope and change that was promised by Obama.
Yeah,
that was the other part of
there
it
was
as well.
a lot of that, but then a lot of Democrats stayed home because they just didn't think Trump was going to win. What does it matter?
All right, but so let's go to the Iowa caucuses, though. Everyone was expecting huge numbers for the caucus this year for the Democrats to show up, and when
It wasn't.
yeah, it was like on
Except the
pace
young-
with like 2016 numbers.
But the young vote was up. But by the way, New Hampshire, the primary was 2008 levels for Democrats. So the Democrat vote in New Hampshire was way, way up.
Well,
in Iowa, it was down.
Right. So, but with New Hampshire, you had Bernie Sanders, who's still going to be a favorite in that part of the country. Like he killed in 2016 as well.
Except he didn't win by a huge number. I was surprised.
Well, me too. I thought he was going
Because
to
he
win, but
squeaked by.
yeah, but that's
Like
the thing.
barely
Again,
beat Buttigieg.
right. Well, again, polling.
Buttigieg won in Iowa, too. That's by 0.1%.
Yeah, they basically tied.
Right, but yeah, there were the polling that I saw in Bernie in New Hampshire was that he was going to take it by maybe close to even 10% of the vote, and it only ended up being about 3.5.
Look, I'm contrarian on this. I know the Democrats got to get their shit together, but I think this guy is a historically unpopular president.
He
With
is.
an economy like this, typically in America, it's not even a contest. If
Yeah.
the Democrats can get their shit together, any of these guys should beat him.
But they can't, and that's the problem.
Oh, they will.
Well, he's got a short amount of time. Sorry.
No. I was listening to you.
Yeah.
I was like, hey, stop talking.
Yeah.
I was like, oh,
So-
keep talking.
right.
A week is an eternity in politics, baby. I mean, we got time.
Sure, and I'm Joe fucking nobody as far as politics goes. But so when he got into office in
Why is it always
Pick
Joe
a different
fucking
name.
nobody?
Sorry.
Why is it always Joe fucking nobody?
He's
Go
got
ahead.
Joe. You
I
know
need
what
to
though?
pause
On
for
that
a
subject,
Jeez.
on the subject of Iowa,
can't
What?
stop the dump
you
truck.
were on the ballot in a non-election. Like, let's get real. You had a presidential campaign, and it was. I feel like it was more symbolic than anything. Maybe not. Maybe you felt you had a chance to beat him, but you took 1% away from him.
1.3. How dare you?
1.3. Dude, that's a huge deal. And if for a sitting president in a state like Iowa, where dump truck here is from,
That's right.
that's a big chunk. So for you to tell me, oh, I don't think I'm going to be president one day, let's face it, you're probably going to be president one day, and you could be all coy and
Would you come to the White House if I were president one day?
Well, are you going to have me at the White House Correspondents' Dinner?
Oh, hell
So
yeah.
I can roast you a little bit?
You can roast.
Helena,
I'll let
you okay with that?
He's hosting.
We
He's
have
hosting.
Helena here,
He's
too.
hosting.
Joe's wife, she's awesome. She's great. She had some of the vodka.
She
You
has some
wouldn't have
vodka
any.
tonic. There's no tequila in the house. For the record,
what a
there's no
princess, dude.
tequila in the house.
In the shit shack. It's not the house.
You are actually right, though, in that this two-party paradigm's going the way of the dinosaurs, and I think more independent voices are going to be out there.
That's what Dump Truck here was just saying.
Well, and that's what I meant when I referred to independent voters. Like, there's people who don't identify with one party or the other because there's
Right.
generally like a list of things that you have to check off to identify with that. And most people nowadays, they're for this issue,
Well,
not this one,
But when you nail them on issues, they do tend to gravitate toward a party. But the Democrats right now are perceived as too crazy left, and the Republicans are perceived as too crazy nationalist and populist.
yeah.
So there's an opening there for somebody who can be decent and just tell the fucking truth.
Well, but you still have to have your core issues, and the very first thing that we disagreed about was
What
the
was it?
guns.
Oh, yeah. Well, you and
So
I
as a
never-
Canadian, we have guns. Like, we have all kinds of guns. What we don't have is crazy people getting guns. People with criminal records getting guns. And no offense to crazy people, I'm not sugarcoating it. Crazy people can't get guns there. And we also don't have guns capable of mowing down 26 people at once, 31 people at once, 58 people. What?
Yeah,
and
this
here,
was,
and
this
here's
was the
that's
first issue that you and I
right.
went at it on.
And it was about kids. They're marching for their lives after a school shooting.
Amen.
And you've got your views, which I do respect, because you had said the day before the election, not to talk shit, but also fuck you. You had
Which election? Oh,
the big dirty one where Trump won.
Oh, 16.
You had said if
you're not
Trump's
gonna-
not elected,
Oh, yeah, come on.
we got to do it, man. But here's
Here's the Musket tweet.
But you know what though? I give you credit because you said musket.
Yeah.
No one has a problem with you having muskets. Brandon, muskets? They're kind of
cool.
awesome.
So
they're
I got
pretty
no
awesome.
problem with muskets.
So for everybody listening to us right now, this is 10 days before the election. That's when the tweet came out. I tweeted word for word something like, if Trump doesn't win, I'm grabbing my musket and I'm charging the White House. Something like that, right?
It wasn't even that crazy. It was just,
I'm grabbing my musket.
I'm grabbing my musket, who's with me? And I understand you're riling up your base. And
Well, yeah, right. But here, this is really, I got to get this in, then you can jump on my ass. Again, a musket who's serious. I was kind of having fun. But nobody remembers the second musket tweet. That was 10 days before the election. That got everybody on MSNBC and CNN taking my head off.
Yeah.
The day of the election, I sent out the second musket tweet. I said, no matter who wins tonight, I'm grabbing my musket and I'm fighting for freedom and limited government. So musket to me was just, I'm going to fight for the things I believed in. It was never, I'm going to lead an army of musket holders.
Of course, and I wasn't even trying to imply that. But yeah, it's just what I wanted to point out was the word musket. No one has a problem with your musket. No one wants to take your musket away. And you as a gun owner,
Yeah.
maybe you could appreciate this. how do you feel about mentally ill people owning guns?
No.
How do you feel about criminals? So guess what, Joe? You are in favor of gun control. It's just a matter of where you draw the line. And that was
Absolutely.
what we discussed
absolutely.
before, privately.
Absolutely. And I actually think you and I can make some history because we can make some common ground here. I'm a huge gun guy. To me, the Second Amendment is the most important amendment we got. It's the most important right because I believe our founders gave us that to protect us from our government. It protects our freedom of speech, freedom of religion, everything else. So there's no bigger gun guy on the planet than me, but I agree with you. We should do whatever we can to make sure that people who shouldn't have guns don't have guns.
And also limit firepower. I'm glad we agree.
No, on that one I'll fight you.
No. Joe
on that
Walsh.
one I'll fight you.
We'll edit it. So it sounds like you agree with me.
But I'm with you. So like if I go to a gun store down the street, I got to undergo a federal background check to buy that gun.
Right.
It makes sense to me if I buy a gun online or I buy a gun at a gun show, I should have to undergo the same background check. Now, do I think that's going to make a big, huge difference in gun violence in this country? No, but it makes sense to me.
It's a step in the right direction is what it is. And eventually, it's not nothing. And that's what I feel keeps happening. Whenever there's a huge tragedy, people on both sides get all fired up. And the people against guns say, no more guns. And the people on the other side
we go to our corners.
say more guns.
We go to our corners.
Well, and the problem that I have with the left when it comes to it's like gun control, they act like there aren't already laws on the books
Tons.
Right. So there are background checks.
I agree,
There are laws in place to prevent felons from owning guns, domestic abusers.
For the record, gun violence in this country dramatically, it's been doing this for the last 30 or 40 years. What you're talking about is we've seen a weird spike in these mass shootings. But overall gun violence in this country has gone down the last 30 or 40 years. By the way, while at the same time gun ownership in this country has continued to go up. There is something going on with these mass shootings that we got to talk about.
And that's the other thing I will fully acknowledge is that mass shootings aren't it ain't a gun are thing. Rare, and it's right.
It's mental or something.
But that goes down. I think if you want to call it, it's a healthcare issue. It's a mental health issue. Fine, let's do something about that.
Do something about it.
But the point is, nothing is being done in either direction. And yeah, I'm not disagreeing with the fact that it's not necessarily related to gun ownership.
No,
it is. The thing is, you hear about these black market guns, how you can buy a gun on the street, and this is just anecdotal.
Yeah.
This is just me. But I was in Austin, Texas, sold out a little thing there and performing, no big deal.
Good time.
And I went to a pawn shop. I like to buy guitar pedals and shit, and I'm in there, and I'm looking at this gun. It's a handgun. Like, it was weird and old-timey, and I'm looking at it, and he's like, oh, you looking at that Glock there? And I was like, no, I was just, He's like, oh, yeah, it's, does this. I'm like, I don't really care. And then he kept telling me about it. I was like, look, man, I'm Canadian. I can't even buy a gun. And he's like, tell you what, come back here with $800 and meet me in the parking lot, and it's yours. And I was like, holy fuck. And that was in a pawn shop. That was where, and I realized that's very rare. Most people don't do it that way, especially in Austin. But it's very easy to get a gun in this country.
No, that's why, again, everybody who says ban AR-15s.
Hell yeah.
No more AR-15s.
You heard it from Joe Walsh, folks.
Oh, that's right. They're going to edit that, aren't they? Don't understand. That's not going to do anything. Like starting tomorrow, you can't sell any more AR-15s. It doesn't matter. There are already 15 million AR-15s out there. If somebody wants to get their hands on an AR-15 to do something bad, anybody can do that in this country.
Well, see, and that's the other problem. So, like, you look at Dave's example where the guy was, like, skirting the law in order to sell him a gun.
Goes on everywhere.
But that's the thing. There's laws on the books to prevent that gun from being sold to him, and the guy's breaking the law
by
to
definition,
sell
criminals
the gun.
will break
Shocker.
laws.
It all comes down to Jim Jeffries. Do you know the famous Jim Jeffries gun bit?
I don't know the famous Jim Jeffries gun bit.
Oh, my God. You gotta watch it. At the very least, it's funny. He talks about it was what catapulted him from like big time comedian to world class comedian.
Oh, I've never seen it.
But it's phenomenal, and I don't want to butcher it, But I will say that he pointed out how in Australia you can get an AR-15 on the black market, but it costs $15,000. And he's like,
That ain't our
if you're the
black
type
market.
of person that's got $15,000, yeah, you're a good little saver. Or maybe it was 30,000, whatever it is. Eventually it will. Eventually they will fade out. You have to draw the line at some point. And I don't think Joe Blow should have a gun capable of mowing down
a different name, Dave.
That beautiful woman
that
right
kind of
there.
firepower.
Okay, when I'm gone and she's at home protecting herself and the dogs, I want her to have whatever capacity she needs to have to save herself and my dogs, because our kids are old now, outside the home, in that house. And an AR-15, my friend, is a really good home defense gun.
I personally don't feel that we need the high power, and I get it. There's all sides to it.
But our focus, and I disagree with you on that, but our focus should be, this is the common ground, do what we can to keep any gun out of the hands of anybody who
Right, and
shouldn't
that
have a
includes
gun.
domestic
Yes.
abusers, because
there are
the mass
laws for that.
shootings, what we were getting into, the mass shootings are so fucking rare compared to the rest of gun violence. It's just, that's what's being reported. That's just what's in the news. And it's like, what, 25, which is a lot of people at once. But in the grand scheme of things, there's 40,000 people, 30 to 40,000 people every year dying from gun violence, and a lot of it's gang related. And I'm not going to dismiss that. A lot of that shit, it doesn't matter what the fuck weapon you put in their hands. I get that. I totally get that. But I still feel that guns are too accessible in this country. Because in my country, it's pretty hard. And there's significantly fewer gun deaths. But
Canadians
we also
are a
have...
bunch of wussies. Bottom line is, Canadians.
We also have access to health care, and I think that's what we need. If you're going to call it a mental health issue, then fucking advocate for mental health. Don't just dismiss it as one thing and take a shit on it in your next sentence. You know what I mean? And I'm not saying that's what you're doing.
Yeah.
But
No, I agree.
to go back to the grab the musket point, I fully support muskets in the home. If you've got a musket, get 10 of them.
See, there he is. Now he's a big gun guy. He
No,
supports,
You're doing what I do to you.
muskets in the
Only
home.
I do that. I do that to him all the time too.
Dave got Dave.
So, Joe, you're playing it cool. You're playing it coy. Let's get real. You're going to be president one day, and it's going to suck for me. But who would you pick if you had won? If you had won this time, who would you have picked as your running mate?
I don't know, but I was on record that I was going to pick a Democrat running mate because I think whoever replaces Trump has got to begin to try to unite us a little bit. And I thought it would have been really cool to have a Democrat VP.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Neither side probably would have Republicans wouldn't have been happy with me. but still.
Tulsi Gabbard.
You had the problem with
Tulsi
that is,
Gabbard.
Tulsi's weird. I can't figure her out.
I admitted last time it
What?
was a confessional.
What?
Where I said Tulsi got a bad rep.
Not.
She got a bad rep. She did. She's not like a Russian asset
No, I don't believe that.
like Hillary. But why would she say that? Why would she say that about an active? I'm quoting Jimmy Dore. Why would she say that about an active member of the military who's in the shit right now? She's serving the government. Why would she say that she's a Russian asset? She's not. The worst thing that she did was she wanted Obama to follow through on his foreign policy that he promised. Pull the troops out. And then when that didn't happen, she's like, what the hell?
And that's what Trump
And everybody's
said
like,
too.
well, you're a Republican. But I got to ask you, I don't know how much you know Tulsi. But
I don't.
Okay, so
I honestly don't.
then
I can't figure out. Everybody runs for president for a reason.
Sure.
Like I ran, I knew it was a long shot, but I thought it was important that there's a Republican calling out this son of a bitch every day. I don't know what Tulsi's endgame is. She can't win. The vast majority of the Democrat Party doesn't like her. Everybody's got a reason. I just don't know what her reason
So
is.
just a quick rundown on her recent history.
sorry,
So
guys.
when the DNC started, when it was coming out that the DNC was in the bag for Hillary before she even got the nomination,
Yeah.
and they were starting to screw Bernie, she was actually on the Democratic National Committee. And in 2016, when that was going on, she stepped down out of principle. She says, I cannot in good conscience continue to serve the DNC in this role because I see what's happening here. That's where she started to get all of the flack from.
Some people think she wants a Fox News gig. She's on Fox News all the time.
But that's what it comes down to.
Bernie's been on Fox News too, multiple times.
Nobody like Tulsi. Tulsi's like on Hannity once a week.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Republicans like
Anybody
her.
who would
Is
sit
that
down
why?
at a table with Hannity's got problems. I'm
Gosh.
serious. Anybody that would
We're
go
getting
on
you on stage tonight. You want to do some comedy?
Yeah. Well, so here's the thing though. This is where she would be a good reach across the aisle because she's willing to go on Fox News. She's willing to talk
But I don't
to
know what
people
she
across
is.
the aisle.
Like you know where I am politically. I don't know what she is politically. Some
She-
libertarians like her.
Well, she is to the left. She wants a basically her healthcare proposal is like Australia's.
Tulsi booster.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
He is.
Yeah.
I
On
didn't
a
know that.
bash.
The only thing I admitted was that she was not what she's portrayed
Okay.
as by the media.
Right, and her main issue
and by
is getting
Democrats.
us out of all the wars that we've been in, out of Syria, out of Libya, getting us out.
And by
of
the way, and I'm there on that.
sure,
Right, I'm with you.
And
Here's my fear about Tulsi.
yeah.
Like people ask me every day if I'll run as an independent or a libertarian this year.
Yeah.
In the general election, and I don't want to do anything that would help Trump. Like I think Tulsi might run as an independent or libertarian, and it would help Trump.
Well,
and
and
that
that
was-
you would take votes away from
Yes.
the and that's what you would do too.
That was
That's
one of
why I don't want to do that.
Well, that was one of Hillary Clinton's accusations against her. Is that like she said the Russians are grooming her to be a third-party candidate?
Hillary, go away. I agree.
Right, and Tulsi stated multiple times, "I will not run as a third-party
But what
candidate."
if she did? So
If she
you don't
did, she
think
would be full of shit.
So you don't think she will, though?
No.
Okay.
No, she
hope
seemed
you're right.
well, and granted, like she's been in Congress, I think about like 7 years now.
Yeah.
She got elected around 30. But she's definitely more moderate and less out there. Like she's not going with all the theatrics.
Oh, she's got a platform. She's an interesting figure. I think she just. I want to know where she stands.
Well, and it could be just like Trump. Like you said with Trump, nobody really knows much about his history because there's no political history.
Exactly.
She's been in Congress, but she's really been behind the scenes.
She's
The first
been
time you
behind the
heard
scenes.
about her
Yeah.
was 2016.
Yeah.
But so that's why she's hated by the Democrats because she supported Bernie over the DNC.
The bottom line. Look, I want to get to where you and I we're talking about and fighting about issues. None of this shit's going to happen as long as Trump's president.
That's what I'm saying. That's what I said to you. Let's get back to disagreeing.
Exactly. But we got to get rid of Trump. So Joe Walsh or Tulsi Gabbard can't do anything to help this guy get reelected.
No,
Right, because you're too divisive. You're going to take people away from
I think
on the wrong side.
I think the best way to beat Trump is just mano a mano, right? I mean, you got one option, either the Democrat or Trump. If you put third-party people out there, that might help Trump.
For right now, although I do agree with a multi-party system. Canadian, what's up?
I agree.
Eventually, but they need to do that right after the election.
After the election, I agree.
They need to say, okay, from now on, we're going to have a parliament. So my theory on that is Americans will never adopt that because it's too much like the British. And Americans are so dead set against being like the British because they fought for the independence. They grabbed their muskets.
Maybe we're moving back toward the Brits because we had a king, we fought against the king, and now we got a guy in the White House who thinks he's a king.
Right.
So maybe we're moving.
So
back
we are
there.
regressing. Yeah, good point.
Hey, don't let me leave without plugging my book.
No, we're going to talk about that.
Yeah, no, we
That's why I was
got
like,
this
let's
all
stop
set.
talking about
We don't have
Tulsi
to
and
talk about the book.
She's not. No, we're
just let me plug it.
I gotta ask about that actually. So I got an advanced copy. I read some of it.
You did not, did you? Really?
I did. I read quite a bit of it. So you were talking about within the. First of all, you led off with this quote. May I quote your book?
Yeah.
Just a little spoiler
I'm
here.
afraid.
So you had said, Donald Trump's harshest skeptics on the left would support a lot of arguments I've made so far in these pages, such as the ones calling out the president's abuse of power, his white identity politics, his authoritarian mindset, and his pathological lying.
Hello.
But that does not make these are not left-wing arguments. Fucking brilliant. These are not left-wing arguments.
No.
To say he's lying, he's full of shit. And why is it that as soon as you say, hey, he's full of shit, you're a libtard? You know?
Shouldn't be, right? None of us should want a president who lies every time he opens his mouth.
Yeah.
That's not a party thing.
So let me give you credit on that. That is absolutely profoundly true.
Before he punches me in the balls, he's going to give me credit for that.
We're punching you in the balls.
A dump truck will stop him from punching the ball. Yeah, we don't let that happen on the podcast.
But something that dump truck here has said. So what I wanted to ask you before this was, and again, I'm saying it for the third time, much to my, you're going to be president one day. I know you're acting cool. Look at Helena. She's ready to be first lady.
Market.
Look at her. She's very classy. She's very
You're
down
younger
to
than
earth.
I'm an old man. This is tiring.
Old man? Are you kidding me? Trump
I'm
is
in my
what, 20
50s.
years older than you?
74 years old.
Well, yeah,
Jeez.
but he's on ephedrine like 24 hours a day. So.
Who
How old are
knows?
you, Joe?
Who knows? 57. Who knows what's going to happen to me?
You look
I
good
have
for
no
57,
idea.
I gotta
Not
say.
bad, huh?
Yeah. Give you 47 easy.
So what would your, and this is a very vague question, pardon me, but what would your presidential policies be?
My platform, my policies.
And let me tell you why every single one of them will be wrong.
Well, let's start with your day one. So, like, day one, you're in the White House. What's the first thing that you want to accomplish?
Day one, if I'm there next year, which I won't be now because I'm not running, there are 3 issues that really fire me up. I went to Congress because of the debt. This country's broke and bankrupt. Nobody wants to figure out the best way to pay for all the health care. I want to lead that discussion.
I already explained it.
I know you did. I don't agree with it. But you can be part of the discussion. Social Security and Medicare, we got to talk about these things. The second issue that drives me is immigration. We have got to fix this country's immigration system. I am an immigration hawk. I think I can lead that discussion. Finally, I want our people home from the Middle East. I'm tired of trying to remake the fucking world. I believe in Israel. Israel is our greatest ally and friend, but I don't want American troops in that part of the world anymore. That part of the world needs to remake themselves.
Congratulations.
Period.
That's Tulsi Gabbard's day one
Well,
thing.
I agree with that. And by the way, Trump, who lies about everything he talks about, he said he wanted to bring our people home.
Absolutely, he did.
We have more people there now than we did when he got elected.
My dad is like a hardcore Trump supporter, but even talking with him, like he was willing to admit
The lie.
He said, yeah, it's like, I don't agree with everything Trump does or says, and he says that's one thing he said he was going to do and did not do. So
No, he's a crazy, like not crazy, but like a very big Trump supporter.
Yeah.
He showed up here in California with like an American flag for a jacket and a Trump 2020.
Wait a minute. What?
Yeah.
Wait, no. What? No.
But
No, we're $24 trillion in debt.
Yeah.
Not because of school lunches and all this other shit. It's because of Medicare, Medicaid, and Social Security. These healthcare entitlements. We have to. Hey, I know you're pulling your hair out. I know you think you have a solution to that. That may be a solution. But as a country, we got to figure this problem out because it's bankrupting this country.
okay, so what's bankrupting it? People getting sick, or the companies making billions and billions instead of just billions? If you look at the way that any other country does, and Americans hate that term, any other country. But if you look at how any other country with free healthcare runs it, they regulate the healthcare industry. So we have to put these sanctions on the healthcare, and I know that goes against capitalism and the free market.
But again, it's the balance of the mixed economy, socialism and capitalism.
No, what you do is
there's a trade-off. The trade-off is the American people give up a lot more out of their pocketbook for something like that. And I know you're going to fight me on this, my good Canadian friend. The quality of care is not where it's at here. In this country, the quality of care in this country is the best in the world.
Disagree.
Now it is. Now the access to that care for everybody is totally different.
It's the same thing with education.
No, because again, we're a freer country,
I
more
see what you're
capitalist,
saying.
so we have more inequality in every regard in life.
And so I say fuck that. And that's where we.
That's where you and I may disagree.
Exactly. I feel
got
healthcare is a right, the same way driving on the paved road is. Yeah.
Well, and see, in America, it's not. We have a different concept of rights here. No, but we may change that.
So change it, Joe.
No, I don't want to change it.
No, you're gonna change it
now
because
he's-
you won't get elected
he doesn't want me
unless
to
you
be
change
president.
it. And you
See, I don't
here's
think-
the thing: you will change it because you have to tell everyone that there is no more political. There are no more corporate donations into political campaigns. You're gonna have to do that.
See, I got no problem with that.
Okay, like we said, you got to start agreeing at the bottom, and that's the first. And no matter what we disagree on, that takes up 90% of it. You get rid of corporate interest in politics. You have a country for the fucking people.
Wait, see, that's such a beautifully wonderfully simplistic thing to say. Don't corporate interests have every right to have a say in our politics as much as, say, like the teachers union, educational interest? And they don't?
No.
You know what I love about you is the honesty.
No, they don't. I don't think they do because they're looking after their own interests and are willing to pay
Don't
for it.
we all look after our own interests?
Yeah, but give me a break. The pharmaceutical companies looking to charge as much as they do for basic treatment, and you never know what garbage is in there, and they're saying to these politicians, we're going to pay.
Agreed.
And it was what Jimmy Dore.
Here you go with Jimmy Dore again.
So he said that money is speech. And you're not bribing anyone. That's what it is. It's bribery.
By the way,
I'm speeching you.
Here's my
when I'm bribing you. I'm speeching you.
Fine. And I would say at different levels we all do that.
Joe, I'll give you $8 if you let all Canadians come in whenever they want.
That's and
that's legal. Give me a break.
Right. And so what you want is politicians who won't take that $8 bribe.
Right.
Here's my campaign finance reform. Money's not a problem. Just get rid of all limits. Like, let's say you're a billionaire like Mike Bloomberg, right? And you think I'm going to be president. Like you want me to be president, right?
No,
so you write me a check.
I said the opposite.
Dave, you write me a check for $1 million because you think I'm a great candidate. In my world, you do that. You can do that. But then instantly there's disclosure. And everybody in America knows that you wrote me a check for $1 million. And if that pisses off voters out there, then they won't vote for me. There's your campaign finance reform. Come on.
That's a marketing
No. Make the American people pay attention. If they're pissed off.
Good luck with that, buddy.
I'm a big gun guy. So let's say the NRA gives me $1 million. If that pisses off voters, then don't vote for Joe Walsh. But they should be instantly aware of it. You can't take money out of politics.
Yeah, there's a comedian, for the life of me, I can't think the name of him right now, but
Who?
They said that politicians should be like NASCAR drivers. They should have a patch of every one of their donors on their suit.
Well, I've heard that, and I agree with that. But that means the American people got to get off their ass and start paying attention.
Right,
because right now they don't.
Too much faith, and it's not the American people. You're giving too much faith in people in general, because let's face it, we're a lazy fucking species.
Well, then we deserve to lose our lazy
No,
country.
But that's the problem.
Because
So, like,
Mike, we're not going to pay attention.
No, this is America.
So we're going to make...
This is America. It should be for the fucking people and not for the corporations.
But here's the problem, though. Like, when you have all these limits, you let a guy like Mike Bloomberg buy the nomination. Because I can't buy the nomination. I don't have money. So what do I have to spend all my time doing as a candidate? Trying to raise $1,000 at a time because I'm not Mike Bloomberg. Mike Bloomberg doesn't have limits on what he can give to his own campaign.
Well, what
That's
about
a fair
Bernie?
point,
What about old man Sanders? Look at how that guy runs his campaign. All of it, like I get emails every day. Hey, can I have $250?
It's great.
Can I have $3 if you're feeling generous?
And I love that.
And that's what it should be. That's
Exactly
what it should be. Because that will keep corporate interest out of America. And let's face it, corporate interest has no business in public policy. Just like religion has no business in public policy, neither does corporate interest.
Think about what you just said. It's fascinating, actually. Corporate interests have no business in public policy, but other interests do. Like
human interest. To me, healthcare is not corporate interest.
As he holds that Rolling Rock.
Oh yeah, this is what's going to put me in the
Rolling
hospital.
Rock? Who owns Rolling Rock? Is that?
Let's see here.
Is that Anheuser-Busch?
We're not doing it for the cameras.
No, hold on a minute. Is that Anheuser-Busch? What corporation?
I don't think it's
Well, I'm not.
I'm not
like Mr. Punk Rock where I'm going to eat broken glass.
Or
and
you're looking
shit
on
my pants all day.
You're looking on your smartphone there. Another corporate interest.
Right, but
we're
they're
sitting here in this beautiful shit shack owned by. Built by.
He called it the shit shack.
Did I get the name right?
Yeah, dude, that's
Yeah, it's the
awesome.
shit
No,
shack.
that's fantastic.
Another
They fucking
corporate
hate that.
interest.
Yeah.
Corporate interests, man, are good and bad.
No, they're all bad in terms of being woven into public policy. They are not entitled to anything in the Constitution. People are entitled to the Constitution, not some fucking corporation, because I've got a corporation.
Well,
I operate under that when I do my stand-up and my fucking bullshit prank calls and whatever the fuck else I do to make money. I do it all under a blanket corporation, and that's what makes money. But could you imagine if I lobbied under that corporation to be like, all right, so I want...
Are you an American? You have a right to lobby and petition your government anytime you want. Every American does.
I think
the head of The head of, give me a company, a big
AT&T.
corporation. The head of AT&T in America has a right to petition, which is lobby their government, every bit as much as I do or you do.
Maybe
If
it's
it's
that the
that
fucking
end of-
people on the bottom don't do it. Maybe that's what it is.
No, no, they do it. And here's the beauty. They organize. People on the bottom organize. They get together. What do you think the teachers union is? Individual teachers, millions of them, coming together, putting a shitload of money behind their candidates. That's what makes America beautiful. Hey, Helene, you got to watch the clock because we have to get an Uber in about... Well, we have to be back down there at by 6.
All right,
Okay,
so
well-
Joe's got a book called
well,
Fuck
well-
Silence.
Well, let's.
Finally,
Hold
I
on,
get to
dump truck's
plug the
gotta
book.
talk.
Dump truck.
No, segue.
By the way, this is fun, guys. You guys are good at
Yeah.
what you do.
He's got a
Yeah.
segue.
All right. God damn it. Yeah. All right. So we're gonna play a game real quick. Usually like to play one. This one's name the politician. So real simple.
Go.
I'm gonna read a quote.
Joe Walsh.
His default is always going to be Joe Walsh.
All right. So I'm gonna read a quote.
Okay.
You tell me who it is. All right. So here's our first one. I think we disproportionately stop whites too much and minorities too little. Who said that?
Oh, Bloomberg said that.
Michael Bloomberg in 2013. So this wasn't that long ago. It's not like it was 30 years ago.
Yeah, he's going to flame out.
Hopefully.
What a joke that is.
All right, the next one. I'm glad to stand on the stage with my fellow Democrats who talk about how important the black community is, at least at election time.
I know this one.
Oh, that was in one of the recent debates.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, you're
who
on the right
said
track. Elizabeth Warren.
Oh, Warren said
So
that.
basically what she was doing
Yeah, that was
like,
a good point.
Yeah, and she wasn't
Yeah.
saying it about herself, but about
Yeah,
the whole
yeah.
DNC.
Absolutely.
All right, so the next one. You better get this one.
Uh-oh.
I've got this thing and it's fucking golden.
Damn! Is that Trump?
Rod Blagojevich.
Oh, Blagojevich.
In regards
Oh, remember that?
In regards to the U.S. Senate seat when he was trying to
Oh,
sell
didn't he just
Obama's
get
Senate
pardoned?
seat.
Yeah.
He
just got...
He's got pardoned for the
no,
ultimate.
his sentence was
well,
commuted.
commuted.
so
So
he'll always have the felony, but he's free man now.
Well, he had a 14-year sentence. He served 7. So, but that's next time we have you on, we can talk about all that shit
One
too.
of the most corrupt states in the country. I mean, look at Trump pardoning all these corrupt people.
Yeah.
Corrupt pardons corrupt.
Okay. All right. This one I guarantee you'll get.
Good for you.
Well, I try. I put a little effort into the show. I will say this. I don't see any reason why it would be.
No, we just heard that.
Yeah.
I will say this. I don't see it. Oh, that was Trump
yeah, right.
in front of with Putin.
Yeah. All right. And I got one final quote for you.
Jesus.
A one-time bad congressman from Illinois.
Oh, that was
And where is that quote listed?
on the cover of my book. He also called me a bad radio host. So this is the only shameless thing I'll do. So I just came out with a book. It's called Fuck Silence, calling Trump out for the cultish, moronic, authoritarian con man he is. Go to Amazon, buy it. It's a good, easy read. It's all about getting people to no longer be silent. We all have to rise up this year, no matter where we are politically, and call Trump out for the authoritarian con man he is. Fuck Silence by Joe Walsh. Amazon, go buy it. You guys are great.
I absolutely this is one. We've only done 10 episodes, but this is one of my favorite
Is
interviews.
this in your top 10? Seriously.
Yeah, it's in the top 10.
Yeah, it's
But hang on, I gotta go into this book a little bit because
Oh, no, here he goes.
these titles of the chapters are awesome. Chapter 1, the lies. Chapter 2, the Constitution Breaker.
The Constitution Breaker. I love that.
Chapter 3, the Constitution Breaker Part 2.
Part 2. It was so good.
The enemy of democracy, the cultist, the narcissist, fixing the presidency,
Boom.
fixing conservatism, fixing the debt, fixing trade, fixing immigration.
You'll like that, Jeff.
I read it. That's why I'm like. That's why I'm saying you're taking a little bit of a different stance, a little bit of a softer stance. I gotta say you are compared to what you were before.
Walsh
and then
is
after
part of
that,
it.
closing thoughts. But yeah, you got to get the I've read most of it. It's actually very well written. You're a pretty good author. I gotta say.
I'm going to get you both an autographed copy.
Yeah, I absolutely look forward to
It's
reading
called
it.
Fuck Silence. Get it on Amazon. Joe Walsh. This has been an honor, you two. I mean,
Absolutely.
Thanks for coming, Joe. Thanks for coming to the shit chat for everybody else. All right, we got the one suit in here. We are the Valley Boys, fixing all the world's problems with the future president, To my chagrin, Joe Walsh. I'm here with Dump Truck, the piece of shit Republican.
And I'm going to be voting
goose-stepping
for him.
Republican, yeah.
Bring our troops home now.
Absolutely.
All right, thanks for listening. Good night.
Good night.
See? Aren't they good?